Good morning, good day to everyone. We're on page 348 in the Maamarim Melukotim Chelik Gimel, which is also printed the Maimer in the Sefer Maamarim Melukotim of Kuntresim Chelik Beis of the previous Rebbe, and we're at the paragraph which begins with V'hinei lahavin shloisha inyanim elu. We're on 346. The paragraph which begins with Va'ata tzarech lahavin peirush hatargum. So, to recap briefly what we learned yesterday, we concluded learning the section of the Maimer that deals with constructive criticism. Maybe after we finish the entire Maimer, or at a later point, we will learn together a letter from the previous Rebbe that's relevant to this idea of constructive criticism, because over there he really recaps nicely the points. But for now, what we learned is that it's important to include yourself when you're giving criticism to others, to be modest when you give the criticism, and to think about the wrong and not who is the one who's wrong. It's not relevant. Those are some of the conditions for constructive criticism. Now he goes back in the next chapter to the first interpretation of the verse that we began with the Maimer, which is from Koheles chapter 10, verse 4. Ruach HaMoishel tal alecha b'koyim chal Tanach. So let's see, he refreshes our memory here with that interpretation and how we are to understand it. V'yato tzorech lahavin, we must understand Peirush hatargum yonistim, the interpretation of the first of the Targum. On the verse, David, in Koheles, there's the Targum of Yonason. And he says like this, in Ruach HaMoishel. Who does Ruach HaMoishel refer to? The spirit of Moshel, Shemefarish al Yetzer Hara. He says, this refers to the Yetzer Hara, to the evil inclination. The Ein Rucha, the Yitzra, Bisha, Mital Boch. That's Aramaic. What does it mean? That it's not the Ein, it's the In, by the way. It's, you see under the Aleph, look inside, guys, there's a chirik, a dot. It's not a tzedi. A tzedi would be Ein. Ein is in Hebrew. Ein means no. In Aramaic, with a dot under the Aleph, means yes. The In Rucha, the Yitzra, it is the spirit of the inclination, the Yetzer Hara, Bisha, the embarrassing one. That's how we know it refers to the evil inclination. Mital Boch dominates, rules over you. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What?
Bisha is Ra. It's not embarrassed. It's Ra in Aramaic.
Right, okay, that's what I meant. But yeah, I know it's Aramaic. Okay, yeah, Ra, right. Mital Boch, if it enters you, if it dominates over you. In this world, which is a place of darkness and thicker darkness, on earth, you have two things. You have chayshech, darkness, and you have afela, a thicker darkness. What's palpable and observable and kind of tangible is either darkness, chayshech, or worse darkness, afela. Ubefrat, and then he adds a vignette, ubefrat, and specifically, bisman hagolus, during the time of the exile, the hachayshech yichas ha'aretz, that darkness covers the earth. In other words, like this, even Yoni bisman of the Beis Hamikdash, the world was still a limited world. The sun rose, the stars came out, the trees were there. In other words, Gashmias, the physical material world, has limitations, and that itself is already a darkness. Even at a time when, let's say, it says, by the time of Shlomo Melech, it was Ishtachas Teinosei, Ishtachas Gafnoi. Everyone had their vineyard. Everyone had their fields. It was a very good time. Are you going to tell me that that was the Geula time? No. It wasn't Mashiach's time. So there was a certain amount of Choshech and Afela then too. Ubefrat, he says, but more specifically, during the time of Golus, the Choshech Yichase Oretz. Now, it's not just Yehuda, a time of darkness. The darkness, Yichase Oretz, it covers the earth. It's all over the place. Wherever you go, there's a sinkhole. Oh, so at that time, when the darkness is so thick, so coarse, and it's all over the place, and it covers up the Oretz, that time, God forbid, the Yetzer Hara is the leader, the governor, the monarch. The Yoijai said, and more so, he goes back now to the continuing words of the Targum Yonason, Ki misgaber lemisach aloch. It overpowers you, lemisach aloch, to dominate you. It's not that the Yetzer Hara is one place, and from time to time he comes and gives you a bother and makes you nuts and tells you to transgress and on and on. But he's overpowering you constantly. The Yitzre Shalodom is Gaber Olav Bechol Yoim. The Yetzer Hara of a person overpowers a person or tries to every single day. Like I told you, you could be 94 and the Yetzer Hara is on fire. Hine Mikoimcha Al Tanach. Comes along Shlomo Melech with his great wisdom, and he continues in the verse, Mikoimcha Al Tanach. Don't forsake your place. What's the Targum's interpretation of those words? So he quotes them. Asrach tav di havese noeg lemekam beiloi tishboik. Your good place that you conducted yourself to be in, don't forsake. Don't give away that good place that you established for yourself to be a good person. What is that good place? He tells us further, the Targum. The Asrach Tav hu Mikoim HaTorah. The good place is the place of Torah. Why is the good place the place of Torah? Ki marpe. Again, that's going back to the verse in Koheles. Ki marpe yaniach chatoim gedolim. Arum, and he quotes the Targum. Arum pizgome oraisa is beriu ot osu la'alma. Because divrei Torah, words of Torah, were created to bring refuah, health to the world. So a place of health, Shalom, right? A place of health, a spa is a place of health. A schwitzbad, if you use the schwitz, is a place of health. Health is a good place. Since the Torah is a place of health, you don't forsake your Torah, although the Yetzer Hara is mounting an attack on you daily. Go to your place of Torah, and you will create healing in your life and in everyone else's life. He says further, the Divrei Torah heim refuah la'helim b'hester shaloilam. The words of Torah are a healing for the concealment, for the hiding of Hashem's presence within the world. So, if a person says, I don't see Hashem around me, it's very dark, the shtus is all around me, go into your Torah, learn Torah, and when you immerse yourself in learning Torah, you are in a place of light and a healthy place. And by strengthening yourself in this good place, through this you will alleviate great transgressions. So what we have here is a very different interpretation of the verse in Koheles. Until now, we were really focusing on the second interpretation of Ruach HaMoishel. Who and what is Ruach HaMoishel? It refers to a person who is in a position of authority. And Shlomo Melech cautions him and tells him, I know you're a big shot, but remember, don't be a big shot. You're in a big position. Don't forsake your humility. And we spoke all about that. That was the bulk of the Maamar till now. Almost the entire Maamar, except the first chapter. Now, he goes back to the first interpretation, which in Ruach HaMoishel, the Moshel doesn't refer to the person who's in a position of authority, but it refers to the Yetzer Hara who dominates over the person. And Shlomo Melech is telling that person, and each and every one of us, we have something that will bring healing to yourself and to the world, i.e. Torah. So although the Yetzer Hara is driving you mad, get into Torah, Pisgomei Doraisa, learning Torah, and that's a place of light, and that will save you from the Yetzer Hara. That's the interpretation. Before I go further, I want to make sure everyone understands. Any questions? Yes. Yes.
I'm assuming, we haven't gotten to it, but I'm assuming from the beginning of this Maamar, when he's talking about the two choshekhs, right? I'm assuming that the one that we're in right now is this one that we're talking about, not the second one?
He says that during the time of Golus, not only is it choshech and afela, which is heavier darkness, even within the heavier darkness, it's spread all over the place. It's like a person can have in his personal life darkness, but he goes out and it's not that dark, right? In his house, he doesn't have so much light. Outside, it's light. We're living at a time during Golus, we're outside. HaChoshech, Yechase ha'aretz, the darkness covers the light. So that is the time we're living in. Yes, the time of Golus. The two interpretations, Yoni, I don't want you to get mixed up, are whether Ruach HaMoishel, who is the Moshel? So the first interpretation was the Moshel is the Yetzer Hara. The second one was the Moshel is the person who is in a position of power. And then the Maamar went to explain the second interpretation first, and now he goes back and talks about the first interpretation. Let's continue. So being that what's the antidote to the darkness that's prevalent all over? It's Torah. So now he starts an entire discussion about three aspects of Torah. Okay, so you gotta halten cup, as we say in Yiddish. You gotta pay attention. The three ideas in Torah. Let's see what he says. And this is something that's mentioned throughout Chasidus, so it's a good review. Our sages of blessed memory say in the Gemara Sukkah 52:2, if this disgusting one, and Rashi says, who is this disgusting one? Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. He comes to you, and he bothers you. Moshcheyu lebeis midrash shlepim. Moshcheyu comes to the word meshicha. Pull him into the Beis HaMedrash. You feel like he's getting to you, and he's schlepping you, and he's getting you into his web. Immediately run to the shul, run to the Beis Medrash, and he's being schlepped with you. Now he's in your territory, you're not in his territory. That's what the Gemara says in Sukkah. The HaTorah, Torah is healing. Shemerapias nefesh abamis. The Torah David actually cures the animal drive, the nefesh abamis, the Yetzer Hara. The gam bezesh ne'inyonim, and in this aspect there are two issues as well. Harisha, and the first one is shehi marpe loshen rifyoin. The first one is that the Torah loosens the pull of the Yetzer Hara. When you schlep the Yetzer Hara into Beis HaMedrash, his web, his grasp on you, and his bear hugging you is opened. It's not as tight, okay? Vahasheni, and the second issue that happens when you schlep the Yetzer Hara into the Beis Medrash, shehi loshen refuah, it actually brings healing to you and to the Yetzer Hara, to the Nefesh Abamis. And he explains, the Nefesh Olikis mislabeshes b'Nefesh Abamis. The godly soul invests itself, mislabeshes from the word lavush, it encloses itself in the animal drive, in the Nefesh Abamis. It's not as though the godly soul, the Neshama, is one place, and the Nefesh Abamis and the bodies elsewhere. No, they're in one body. And being there in one body, there is a unity between them. And the Nefesh Elikis being the soul, the Neshama, that senses HaKadosh Baruch Hu, godliness is felt by it. Hence, when it encloses itself and invests itself in a body, it looks to impress and impact the guf, the body, and the nefesh abamis. Top of 347, continuing in his words. Uvihislapshu zoi, and in this investment, hari koiches ha-nefesh elikis, heim bizgalus ba-nefesh abamis. The powers of the godly soul are revealed in the nefesh abamis. It's not as though the nefesh elikis dresses itself up in the nefesh abamis, and it allows the nefesh abamis to take it for a ride to all foolish places and all foolish things. If the nefesh elikis is really in its prime, it reveals itself. That's what he says, Shmuel, on the line, in the top line. Heim behis galus ba nefesh abamis. It's not only Yehuda that it's there, it's revealed in it. What does it mean revealed in it? You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. And I'm godliness. I'm a part of God. I'm a neshama. So we're going to be neshama-like. Hine, next line, ha-Torah nikras oiz v'zeshia. Chazal teaches Torah is called mightiness, oiz, v'zeshia, and salvation. But Seshia also comes from the word mateshes. It weakens, he says. Shemateshes koyach ha-nefesh abamis. The nefesh elikis weakens the koyach of the nefesh abamis. V'nosenes koyach ba-nefesh elikis. And it does something else. Very interesting. Listen to this. When the nefesh abamis becomes weaker, it adds strength to the nefesh elikis. You understand? This is why I'm saying they're intertwined. Because you could say like this, okay, by learning Torah, I weaken my taivas, my nefesh elikis is the same nefesh elikis, and what happens is that my taivas of the nefesh abamis are more dormant, are weaker. So that's true, but the Rebbe says more so. That itself adds strength to the nefesh elikis. Why? Because our koyach is being used up, David, by the nefesh abamis. Hashem gave us a mind. Hashem gave us a heart. Hashem gave us hand and feet. And imagine it's being used for foolishness, for nefesh abamis. So it weighs on you. If you don't use it for nefesh abamis, that koyach, that strength is still there. And it benefits the nefesh elikis. So you're putting on tefillin, and you're going to visit the people who are not well, and educating your children, and learn and being nice to people, and everything else is with more passion. Why? Because you have that koyach of the nefesh abamis that's there, that was not used for stupidity, so now it's used for kedusha. This is a very important point that we don't emphasize usually. It's like, if you eat, the food makes you sluggish, right? If you eat healthier and less and all that, you have more koyach. When you use the food for eating and overeating and the wrong foods and all that, it gives koyach, but it gives koyach to a nefesh abamis and to a sluggishness. So it's wasted. When you loosen it, when you give it away to be used for the proper things, that same koyach that could have been used to make you weak makes you stronger. Let's continue inside the Maimer, the third line. It says in Tilim, Hashem oiz li'ama yitein. Hashem, strength, he gives to his nation. If the Tirgem comes along the Targum and interprets, Havaya oraisa la'ame yohiv. Hashem, Torah he gives to his people. Look at this, Shalom. The verse says Hashem oiz. God gives oiz. Oiz means strength, power, to his people. The Targum interprets the word oiz not as physical strength, but oraisa, Torah. Hashem gives Torah to his people. Vahainu, why does the Targum make that interpretation? Says the Rebbe, Shahatayra Nisenas Koyach Banefesh Elikis. Because Torah gives koyach. Torah is the fuel for our nefesh elikis. Shetiskabed al nefesh abamis, that it should overpower the nefesh abamis. V'yoz, and when that's done, nechlash hakoyach hamesava the nefesh abamis. The power of taiva, which we call koyach hamesava, the power of lust and desire. It doesn't mean just lust in one area. It means power of desire, passion and desire in unhealthy things, whatever they may be, are nechlash, are weakened of the nefesh abamis and added to the nefesh elikis. So that's why it says, when it's, the Rebbe explains, so when the Torah says, Hashem oiz la'amo yitein, when Tehillim says, it says in Tehillim, Tanakh, Hashem gives oiz, the Targum says, you talk about power, you talk about strength, you know what's power? Torah. When you learn Torah, and you immerse yourself in Torah, what happens is, you strip the koyach for the nefesh abamis, and you transfer it to the nefesh elikis. So you're actually adding koyach to the nefesh elikis. That's the interpretation. Right. V'hinei ba'avoda the Torah. So now that he mentions Torah, so as I told you earlier, he goes now into 3 details within Torah. Okay, this is a very, very orderly chapter, right? So now he tells us what aspect of Torah accomplishes this. There is Torah in general, Yoni, learning Torah. But what is it about Torah that makes this transition, moving the energy from the Nefesh Abamis to the energy of the Nefesh Elikis? Says the Rebbe, we find 3 ideas in the avoda, in the service of Torah. What are they? It says in Dvarim, Torah tziva lanu Moshe Marosha Kilush Yaakov. The Torah that was commanded to us, that Moshe commanded us in the name of Hashem, Marosha, it's an inheritance to the congregation, the Kehila of Yaakov, Yaakov, the Yidden. So here in this pasuk, the Torah is called what? A Yerusha, an inheritance. Every Yid inherits Torah. I don't care where, what, he, who, they, every Jew, it says, inherits the Torah. You know, an inheritance, you don't choose, right? You're lucky if you get it. But in this case, every Jew gets it. Torah tziva lanu Moshe marosha k'ilas Yaakov. You belong to Yaakov, you belong to Yidden, you get Torah. You like it or not, it's yours. It's yours. Now what you do with it, you have free will. But it's yours. You don't need a lawyer to open up the will and send you the funds. You have it. Well, that's the first aspect of, one aspect of Torah. Well, and other times we find that Chazal say, he quotes Pirkei Avos, quote, Haskein atzmcha lilmud Torah. Prepare yourself to study Torah. She'eina Yerusha lach. For it is not an inheritance to you. You don't get it automatically, but you have to haskein. You got to prepare yourself. Wow, a contradiction between two sources of Torah. Is it an inheritance, Yoni, or is it not? So we're going to see that in a moment. This Mishnah in Pirkei Avos seems to contradict the verse of Meirasha Kilas Yaakov, that Torah is an inheritance for every Yid. Torah is not an inheritance to you. Uperish Rashi. Rashi says, Al Toima, don't say, since my father was a great chacham, I'll also automatically be a big Talmud chacham, a big chacham gadol, without effort. And we all know it don't work that way, because we know plenty of fathers who are very Talmud scholarly, Talmud chachamim, and the kids, their sons, their daughters, whatever, are not that way. So Rashi says you have to work and put effort on mastering Torah and learning Torah to be a Talmud chacham. Eina Yerusha lach. It's not you can sit back on your loins and watch Monday Night Football and become a Talmud chacham. Instead of 3-4 hours watching football and eating popcorn and wasting your time, learn, because you're up, or you're sleeping. But obviously you're not sleeping, because the game starts at 8 o'clock or whatever, or the World Series, or a regular game, and it goes to 11, and if it's overtime, it goes to 12. You got 3-4 hours, and then you hit the sack. Well, you could have learned Torah then. Oh, you're lazy. You're not interested. No problem. But you're not going to be a Talmud Chacham. You're not going to be a Talmud Chacham. And when I was in yeshiva, and I'm sure when you guys were in yeshiva, or when you know people in yeshiva, there were guys who had much better heads. I told you this once than my friends and I. The higher class in Morristown, they had much better heads. But we knew, a lot of us knew better how to learn than they did. You know why? Because we were more diligent. And they just took it for granted. Yeah, they got it right away, right? So why do I have to schwitz? I might as well, either sleep a little bit, come late, I had a chavrusa once, actually more than once, like a genius head. He got everything right away. But he would come late, he wouldn't come. So there's no question that I ended up learning much more than he did. Now, I'm not saying that certain things he understood better because of his better head, right? But as far as quantity, I probably knew much more than him. Because he took it for granted. So that's what we're saying here. Torah is a Yerusha. And Torah, what says in Pirkei Avos is, it's not a Yerusha. I don't care if your father is this genius and this big Rav and all that. If you don't sit and put the time in and you don't harav in Torah, you are not going to know Torah as much. You might have a great head. So what? So what? There are plenty of people who have great heads and they waste it. Or they don't waste it. They decide to go in other pastures, which is another thing. So that's what we're saying. Im Kain, continuing, Lo matzrichim yegia. Why do we need yegia? V'im kain lo matzrichim yegia. So what do you mean? V'im kain lo matzrichim yegia. In other words, if you assume that it'll come automatically, why would you need effort? And finally, we'll conclude with this today. We find a third thing. You hear? There's a third level of Torah. So again, let's recap. The first one, what we call Yehuda, Yerusha. The second aspect of Torah we call Yegia, effort. Now comes the third aspect of Torah, Matana, a gift. Therefore we make a brach on the Torah, Nation Torah. Right? David, when we call to the Torah, Baruch Hashem, no saying HaTorah. What is Nation associated with? Look further in the Maimer. The Torah Pchinas Matana, a gift, a Matana. Hashem gives us a gift, a matana. There are three gifts in the world. Torah, Ma'oros, the illuminaries, right? The sun, the moon, those are gifts. V'hageshamim, and rain. We will continue tomorrow to develop this idea further. Any questions? I'm sorry?
Ask about the last thing.
The three items of matana.
Yeah, Matana is going to explain more at length tomorrow, so the time is up now. Tomorrow, come back and we'll learn much more about Matana. But just at this point, we know that there's a third aspect that's not an inheritance, not a Yerusha, and it's not Yegia. It comes in a way of gift, and what that means. And also probably what you're wondering, David, is what's the difference between an inheritance and a gift? We'll learn that tomorrow. Sei gesund. I have to keep you in suspense so you'll come back. Bye.
Right.